Bryan, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think it's going to be a terrific dinner, and I love Markham wines, and I can't wait to see what you have. I did some research, knowing that we were going to talk today, and I saw that you joined Markham Vineyards in 1977. But I also noticed that Bruce Markham didn't found the company until 1978. So my first question is, what did you do for that first year?
Well, we were trying to get organized and decide how we were going to tear the winery apart and get ready for harvest in '78. So I had graduated the prior year from UC Davis and was working in the cellar of Chandon just to get a little bit of experience. And I got this call from him asking me if I was interested in interviewing for this job that was recommended by my parents' ex-boss. My mom and dad had run Inglenook for 40-something years, and the person selling this old, dilapidated winery to Mr. Markham used to be my parents' boss.
Oh, is that right?
He basically told Mr. Markham that he should hire me. Not that I knew anything, but my parents would help me.
And your parents were how long with Inglenook?
Well, my dad spent 46 years there, and my mom 40.
My goodness.
During the heyday of that brand,
Yes.
as you know.
Well, they must have joined right when winemaking got going again.
Pretty early, exactly. My dad started working there right when he got back from the war in 1945, and he retired in '91. And my mom started a little later, but she took a few years off in the middle of her career to have 3 kids, and that was an important part of my life. So.
And are your siblings involved in the wine industry?
No, they're not. My brother is. My brother is a vineyard manager and works and lives in Napa. My sister is an entomologist and a deputy agricultural commissioner over in Yolo County in Woodland, California. So we're Aggies. We're all Davis people, so to speak.
Now, as the president, how involved in the actual winemaking are you?
Extremely in the early days, and now Miss Kimberly would really get mad at me if I delved into her affairs. So my responsibility is obviously the business and the marketing, the traveling. But I purchase all the grapes. I don't allow anybody to do that from the growers that we buy. About 30%. We raise the other 70% in our vineyards. But she's been there 20 years, so she wants me to stay away and let her do her job.
Are you ever tempted?
Oh, I'm tempted, and I sneak back there when I know it's tasting time, and I stick my nose in it, so to speak. And usually I get shooed out of the laboratory, but no, I'm involved in pretty much every phase of it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the wines we're going to be tasting tonight?
Yeah, we're starting off with Markham Sauvignon Blanc during the reception. The most important white wine in our winery. We've worked very, very hard to emulate a white Bordeaux and not copy New Zealand or other areas. So we're using Semillon for mouthfeel. Part of the Sauvignon Blanc is the Muscat clone because we like a little bit of floral note in it too. And it ages for about 4 months in neutral French oak tanks on the sandy lees, the secondary lees from fermentation, just to get some cream and a little bit of viscosity. So it has some grapefruit, but it's a really, I don't know, I think such an ideal wine for oysters and seafood and things like that, and I'm sure it's going to be quite good tonight for the reception.
Okay, what else we got?
I think we're having Chardonnay with the second course. Markham Kimberly barrel ferments 100% of it, but we're only using about 25% new oak. We're typically half French and half American. We're trying to keep the oak in balance. One of our pet peeves is when Chardonnays are too oaky or too malolactic in nature, too buttery, that they're not really perfect with food. And we're trying to make a food wine, and you'll see in the background when you taste it tonight, there's a very, very good acid structure. So only 25% new barrels, but fully barrel fermented. We are stirring every 6 weeks on the lees, but we only allow 1/3 of it to go through malolactic. So all of the components are in it, but none that stand out and dominate either your olfactory or taste buds, to be honest with you.
Okay, so starting with 2 whites.
Right. Then we're going on to the wine that pays the bills at our place, and we're quite proud of our reputation with Merlot. We were not the first winery, but I think we were the 4th winery that started really working with Merlot. Our first vintage was in 1980. I think my buddies, Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Duckhorn, were making it in 78. Rutherford Hill made it in 76, but it accidentally became our signature wine, to be honest with you. And over the years we've garnered so many awards with it. I've been on the cover of The Spectator because of it. We had Merlot of the Year twice during our 35 years, and it really means a lot to us. And our goal is to always make a wine that, in the Sideways movie, Miles was always talking about the wimpy, insipid, and horrible Merlots, and that's a function of when a variety gets popular, everybody jumps in. But ours has never been that way, and most Napa Valleys are not that way. And we've always been a blender. So these wines typically, Markham Merlot has been in the mid-80s percentage for the Merlot, but we use Cabernet, we use Cabernet Franc, and we use Petit Bordeaux in these. So we want that mini Bordeaux, but we want the middle filled out by those other varieties.
And I have to tell you that Markham Merlot was the first one I ever bought a case of.
No way.
Yeah.
Here in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me so happy.
Well, tell me, when you have such a signature wine like that, how important is it for it to taste the same every year, or for you to strive for it to have that same?
That is an excellent question, and that is definitely our goal. Mother Nature makes all the decisions about what you're going to get in the raw material, obviously, but we have 350 acres of land in 4 different locations. We have Merlot in all of our vineyards except for Markham Calistoga, which is all Cabernet. I buy Merlot from probably 10 different growers in the other appellations that I don't have vineyards in. So, Kimberly is a big chef, and she loves to cook. I am definitely somebody who loves to cook, and we just, it's like a recipe for us. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's not winemaking by recipe, but it's characteristics that come from other areas, like a Rutherford or an Oakville, places that we don't have grapes in, and it's really important for Markham as a brand to have that wine consistent every year. Unfortunately, sometimes we fight weather things, as you know, but I think we're pretty consistent even in years that are tough for us.
Good. And what's our
the last wine is, I'm so happy to be showing it. I can't believe that it's here, but we make 2 single vineyard Cabernets, one from Markham Calistoga, which is called the Altruist. They're part of our charitable giving thing. We give these grants out every year. So we've named the one in Calistoga the Altruist, and the one from Markham Yountville the Philanthropist. So tonight we're having the Altruist. They're both 500 case production only, which means that over 100 cases are sold at the winery annually. So 350 to 400 cases get into America, which is a pretty small amount. So you can rest assured we're not getting any wine to Iowa and Nebraska and those states, but Florida is the #1 state for Markham, other than California, and has been for many years. So I love what our distributor does here, and I want to make sure that they're happy so they get a good inventory. Whereas these wines typically from other Napa wineries, and I'm not trying to be rude or anything, would probably be $125 a bottle. Markham's retail price for the Philanthropist and Altruist are $55. So that's our super priced wines, because we have a value image, and
that's how I was able to afford a case.
There you go. Well, we've been able to do it because Mr. Markham bought all the land for a very inexpensive price in the early 70s, so we don't have the debt service to pay back, millions of dollars for vineyard costs. But no blending. These are both Altruists that we're having tonight, and the Philanthropists are both 100% Cabernets. We don't use American oak with them. They're both 90% new French oak barrels. And Kimberly gets to do whatever she wants. I mean, it's one of those, she worked very hard with all of our brands, the Greystone brand and the Glass Mountain brand, and I have to let her go sometimes and let her have her things. So she basically selects within the vineyards where she gets those grapes from, how much maceration time after fermentation, and the source of the barrels, of course. So I'm pretty pleased. I think you're going to enjoy it tonight. So I think we're having it with buffalo or something like that. So that's going to be unbelievable.
Good. I like the way that you said that a certain number of cases make it out into America.
Right.
So it's either California or America.
Well, I
So
know.
I want to say, welcome to America, and we're looking forward to the visit.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.